In Little River, South Carolina, there is a magnificent, charming, beautiful, historic restaurant known as the Brentwood Wine Bistro. Low country French cuisine is its specialty, with Master Chef Eric Masson acting as a maestro conducting culinary perfection. This location has become infamous for its haunted atmosphere. People line up every day to hear more about the ghosts of the Brentwood. However, every ending must have a beginning. To understand the ghost, we must first understand the life that once was. Essie McCorsley, the original owner, resided in the home until she passed away on August 15, 1974. Her husband Clarence had died at an early age in the 1940s, leaving Essie to tend to the home all alone. Or was she alone? Essie was a strong-willed woman who refused to allow her husband's death to stunt her life. She became overly obsessed with their home. Despite Clarence's passing, Essie kept things as they were. She kept them as if he was still very much a part of her life. After her husband died, she converted the home into a bed and breakfast for local fishermen. In the early 70s, the widow was approached by a local business person who wanted the land her house was on. This person wanted to destroy the home and use the land for a proposed business. Essie was very passionate about not wanting the house destroyed. Many people believe it was because her late husband was still in the house, and Essie knew that. Since she was so adamant about not having the house destroyed, the businessman cut a deal with her and agreed to move the house across the street to free up the land and keep Essie in her own home. Although a rarity, every piece of that house was relocated. Normally, when a house is picked up and moved from one location to another, the foundation and any stonework such as chimneys are simply rebuilt. In Essie's case, however, the entire home was moved. Today, that home rests on Luck Avenue. The widow spent the remainder of her years in the home. Following her death, the house changed hands many times. In the late 70s, the house was converted into a country-style restaurant called Grandma Mary's. In the 1980s, the house was purchased and fully restored to its natural beauty. Kim and Master Chef Eric Masson purchased the restaurant in August of 2007. It was an odd coincidence to breathe life into the historic building during the same month that Essie welcomed her death. One thing that is certain is the house never died, and is very much still alive. When the Massons purchased the old home, they had no prior knowledge of the alleged spirits residing within. That fact alone sparked my interest in the possibility of some truth behind their ghostly claims.
My name is Eric Masson. I'm the chef owner of the Brentwood restaurant. And over the years, we owned the Brentwood for 10 years now, and we had just a lot of activity in the restaurant. We didn't really necessarily knew that the place was haunted when we bought the place, but we pretty much find out.
My name is Kim Masson, and my husband and I are the owner of the Brentwood Restaurant and Wine Bistro in Little River, South Carolina. And we purchased this restaurant August 2007, and we did not know it was haunted. We had no idea. A few years went by and a lot of strange stuff happened.
Over the months and the years that we run this place. And also find out that it was pretty established in the community that it was a haunted restaurant. And I never really wanted to find out too much about it, because I do have to close the place every night. And so it doesn't really fit in my logic. I'm a pretty kind of logic kind of guy, French chef. They're pretty logic, and it really didn't fit in my logic.
One of the things that happened, I was here early in the mornings, drop the kids off at school. I'd be here by 7:30 in the morning. I'd do some work, and then I'd go in the bathroom. And I'd close the door, even though I was here by myself, and I'd hear this outside the door. And I'm like, well, that's kind of strange. I thought maybe it was something in the pipes. And after talking to my husband, no, the air conditioner is not on. There's really no pipes for anything to make that noise.
And it really started the first months that we took over the restaurant. And the experience was upstairs in the bathroom. That's where I heard the voice. It was a woman's voice. It was very loud.
I actually opened up the door really quick one time, expecting to see somebody there, and there was nobody. I was the only person in the restaurant, thank God.
And it really got me very, very scared.
Essie McCorsley's nephew, Harold Besant, called me and said, "Oh, I know that house, and there's something strange going on there." So I said, "Well, let me come over and talk to you." So I talked to him, and I explained to him, I said, "What is this noise?" I go, "Ah." I said, "And I hear it when I go in the upstairs bathroom." And he said, "Oh, that's Aunt Essie. She would make that noise every time a fisherman or one of the guests in the house would go in the bathroom and take too long. She'd go right up to the door and she would make that sighing noise." He said that she was prim and proper, and that was a little bit more polite than banging on the door telling somebody to hurry up. That was my validation that yes, I was not alone in the house, and there was definitely a ghost. And and it was Essie. I'm always looking for validation because it's just so hard to believe that this stuff happens, and it's hard to believe that it's a ghost.
The Brentwood owners began to experience the same paranormal activity they would later discover was the norm for the previous inhabitants of the home. From my archives, I located an old interview with Kim. She spoke then how she speaks now about the ghosts of the Brentwood.
And the glass didn't just tumble, it smashed really into like 1,000 pieces. Like somebody just threw it on the floor.
Over the years, the investigation work conducted inside the historic beacon for spiritual occurrences has led to captivating evidence that still to this day has the research community dumbfounded. My maiden voyage inside the Brentwood Wine Bistro led to the witnessing of a full-bodied apparition. I saw with my own 2 eyes a 6-foot-tall, solid black silhouette of a man walk behind the bar.
I'm telling you, I'm going to recreate what I saw. I'm going to show you.
You hold the chair?
Yeah. Just videotape me over. I'm going to show you exactly what I saw. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duck down at the counter when it disappeared.
Okay.
This is what I saw. Just like 2 seconds and it was gone.
Wow.
Mainly this area right here.
Yeah.
Right over here where you're at there, that's where when I said whoa, whoa, kept coming in, what the hell was that? I could swore something was moving right here and it just gone.
From that moment on, my focus was dead set on capturing him on film. Years of research would provide just that. I was able to capture the shadow entity in a photograph at the bottom of the stairs, followed by a mysterious and captivating face in the mirror. But in this field, a picture is worth 1,000 reasons why it isn't real. I was so impressed with the investigation results that I wrote not 1, but 2 novels with the Brentwood Wine Bistro acting as the flagship story in both. Almost overnight, the Brentwood Wine Bistro became a household name. Sold-out book signings and lectures led to even more mainstream attention. The restaurant had officially added Ghost to their menu. Kim and I were frequent guests on terrestrial radio shows and television. House of Blues jumped in on the action, scheduling myself and then head investigator Alan Best for paranormal presentations. This was a historical first for the entertainment venue, typically known for live music performances and comedy acts. Big names in the paranormal field started to appear at the Brentwood. Ghost Hunters International Shannon Sylvia accompanied me on the night the house served up a little crazy.
Yeah, make it go back up. Please, Lord. Did you do that? What? Did you do that?
No, I don't think they
Ask him on the walkie.
Ask if they made it
Ask
go
him
back
on the
up.
walkie.
Did you do that? Did you put it back up?
You're the only one that's got control of this.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
That's awesome.
We never touched it.
As long as it's current.
And that's my love.
Thank you.
The ghosts of the Brentwood began to speak.
Was that you sending the dumbwaiter up?
Yes. Oh, wow.
Were you the face in the mirror?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Who's here with us? Kim.
Did you hear that, Kim?
Kim is here. Oh my God. Yep, Kim is here.
Oh, dude. Oh, yeah. Wow. Wow, there you go. Bam. Bam. Perfect. Something just shot right into you, Steve. Dude.
And me and Stephen were asked to go out to California and record my ghost story. And this was after he kind of validated some hauntings. He came a couple nights, actually almost about a year's worth of nights. And he definitely verified, yes, there's something going on here.
It wasn't long before network television wanted to capitalize on this amazing story. Kim and I flew to Los Angeles, California to film for A&E Biography and their supernatural anthology program, My Ghost Story. The episode was entitled Articulate Apparition and still to this day remains the highest rated episode in the series. I guess it goes without saying, you just can't beat a true ghost story. Interest in the Brentwood ghost prompted the Masons to organize public ghost tours led by master storyteller and tour guide Mike Neff. Even during the public tours, the spirits had their say.
Hi there, my name is Mike Neff. I am the host and storyteller for the ghost tours that go on here at the Brentwood restaurant. We've been doing them since October of 2015, so we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary. As part of the tour, we watched the A&E Ghost Story video from back in 2011, and when we're done with that, we start the actual tour and I start telling stories. Well, during those first handful of stories, all of a sudden the video screen where we showed the video slowly went up. It wasn't like it was, lost its hold and shot straight up. It very slowly went up. And there was nobody within 3 or 4 feet of the screen. So I actually asked the guy that was closest to the screen if he had reached over and touched it, because I didn't see that happen. And he said, no, absolutely not. So that was kind of a kickstart to it. We then went on about the tour and ended up downstairs near where we finished up. And I was in the bar telling a story, and the room next to it is where we end, was in total darkness. And out of that room, you just heard this low, guttural kind of sound. I can't really call it a growl, but it was a menacing, low sound. And everybody on the tour turned, and I turned because we all heard it and couldn't explain what it was. And then about 5 minutes later, all sorts of pots and pans started crashing around in the kitchen. And I kind of played that off, saying it was people in the kitchen that were just finishing up for the night. And so we finished up the tour. I escorted everybody out, as I always do. Then I went up and saw Chef, because I was, kind of debrief with him at the end of the night. And I said, why were people in the kitchen so late? Because it was 10:15, 10:20. Restaurant closes at 9, so usually they're out of the kitchen well before that. And he said there hadn't been anybody in the kitchen for the better part of an hour. And this was about 5 minutes after it happened. So I told him there absolutely was something in there. So that was that one night. We had all 3 of those things go on. Chef explained to me that during the tour, he was actually watching the security cameras while we were right outside of the hostess station, and that he could see orbs with the lights on. Most of the time, we only see orbs when the cameras switch into night vision, but he could absolutely see orbs flying around when that was going on.
Yeah, and it's true. I can get some dust, and you can see some dust, but those orbs, what they do, the logic of it, because they have a lot. By looking at them, and I never looked at them before. Now I'm starting to look at them.
So yeah, when I came into it, I had no preconceived notions about what it was about, and just being around it and being in this place, you kind of get a sense of things being here and there being a presence around you quite often when you're in this house.
In present day, the Masons and the employees of the Brentwood all seem to have a supernatural experience to share. They all seem to have one thing in common: the mysterious shadow entity.
A lot of the art on the wall that would fall during the night, always during night, it was never during the day. And I would put them back, and I would change the screw and change the hook, but then they would fall again. Then there was, so I ended up having to pretty much bolt everything on the wall so it doesn't fall. And there was just a lot of other things falling, just glasses falling, silverware falling, and that's kind of normal. I mean, those things happen, but it would just happen upstairs when there was nobody there. You know, we had the instance where the glass fell and just shattered everywhere on the floor, and there was just nobody upstairs. And then I got to talk to people that used to own the place, or they used to live here, and they would say, "Oh yeah, that's the ghost. You know, it's been known to be haunted." So, you know, it just, and even then, I was still kind of holding, you know, on it, and decided that yeah, there's always kind of an explanation for anything.
One night when everything was off, all the breakers were off, it was pitch black in here. I'm walking through this hallway right here, which if you'll notice when you turn off the lights in here, it is, you can't see your hand in front of your face type of dark. So I'm usually would go through this side, that's the expected side to go through for the kitchen. Some nights when I get a weird feeling, I'll go through the other side. This night I decided to go through this side. Right when I walk through this door right here, I feel just a heat wave and like an energy kind of come to me, and it almost blocked me from being able to move forward anymore, and my entire spine tingled, every hair on my body stood up, and that was the first time I ever rushed through the kitchen and booked it out of here, and that's the only time, but it was probably hands down the creepiest experience of my life. It was just, you just knew an energy was right there. You just knew there was something that was right there, and I won't say that it was negative or positive, but it was definitely a blocking and very assertive type of energy for sure.
Then it gets even worse, to the point that we had equipment that started by itself, and there's a episode where the commercial dishwasher in the kitchen just started as I was walking by it, and you know, at first I was like, well, that's weird, and then so I called the company. Those guys came, you know, and they looked at it, and they told me, you know, there's nothing wrong with the dishwasher, and they look at me like, you know, I'm kind of, maybe I had a little something to drink or something. But it's because they just say it just can't happen. You know, it's just it's not electronics. It's just a switch. You close the door, hit the switch, turns on. If the door is open, you know, you definitely don't want to get started because it just would throw water everywhere. It's a dishwasher.
One night I was washing dishes. There wasn't anybody around. It was in the dish room in the kitchen, and I felt tugging on my apron. It was literal, you know, tugging. It wasn't, you know, wind or anything like that. And I figured it was just one of my coworkers needing to get to the sink. So I move out of the way and nobody's there, and I turn around and there's still nobody there. And I was like, well, cool, you know.
And so I was like, all right, you know. And about a couple of weeks later, that's where it happened again. Actually, that night I wasn't by myself. I was with my wife, Kim, and we actually were kind of talking about all the things that were happening, and then we decided that we heard some noise in the kitchen. There was nobody supposed to be there, but we decided it was time to go. And before, of course, I had to check everything. I did my round the way I do it every night, and as I walked out right by the dishwasher, at that instant it started again, throwing water everywhere. That really scared us, and at that time I was almost thinking about selling the place because it was just, you know, that bad. I would get the really creepy feeling, you know, the hair on the back, and it was really uncomfortable working in the place.
So many people who come into the place talk about, oh, I can sense things, you know, and I can see spirits, I can see auras, I can see like whatever around you, and feel spirits and stuff. And the common theme is whatever spirits are here really like me and my husband. You know, they really enjoy coming. They like to see all the people that come to the restaurant. And I've heard this from more than one person, actually quite a few people, that the spirits here like all the customers that come in, especially if it's a relative. So if you are a McCorsley, Besant, Platt, Bellamy, you know, you've got people watching over you when you come to the Brentwood.
So I've been here 4 years. I had been here about two and a half weeks. I didn't know anything, any history on the house or anything of that matter. I was working here upstairs. Everybody had gone. I had worked a wedding reception. I came around that corner right there, turned to go walk down the stairs, and standing outside of the bathroom was like a 6 or 7 foot tall, like a dark shadow person. And I stood there for a minute, and I was trying to take in what I was seeing, and I froze. And I called for this kid named James that I worked earlier with. I yelled out his name. He was downstairs, and he answered back to me, "Yeah." And I was like, never mind. And I stood there for a minute, and I was turning my head. It turned its head, and then I stepped towards it, and it looked at me, and then ran into the upstairs dining room. And then I got the hell out of there. Ran, got in my car, took off. A little bit later, Eric had called me and said that I had forgot to do my paperwork, and I was still just in shock about what I saw. And I said, "Nah, yeah, tomorrow maybe, man. I don't know." He was like, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "You see something?" And I said, "Yeah." I was like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "I'll tell you about it tomorrow."
That's where I actually decided to just talk to the ghost, and basically ask him to not do anything when I was there, you know. And it was a kind of surreal conversation. It was basically me talking, you know, by myself, but I said it out loud, and actually things got better. No more dishwasher starting. We also had people that would get locked in the bathroom, and that was becoming a problem as well. You know, and light flickering and all kinds of stuff.
Whenever I first started here, I was in the downstairs server station, and it felt like something was hot on my behind. And I'm looking around, I'm like, what in the world? You know, and I felt it again, and I looked, and there was nothing around me that, you know, because I thought maybe it was a junction box or, you know, something, there was some current that I backed up into. But there was nothing there. So that was my personal one-on-one experience.
And then I got a little curious, you know, and so about 2 years later, I was like, oh, okay, maybe you could do things, you know, just because I was like, maybe there's no more ghosts, who knows? And so there's been a few events just in the last few months. We had another customer that got locked in the bathroom, and I pretty much always wear a little screwdriver with me, because, you know, that way I can free them. We have still a lot of the object that move or fall. Some disappear and then reappears.
It's upstairs. I'm usually the main one to work up there, so I guess the house knows me well at this point. And so I'm turned off the breakers once again, turned off all the breakers in the house. And I have a busser that likes to tease me and pull pranks on me. And so I'm on the other side of the fireplace, more towards the office and the bar side. And suddenly a salt shaker flies from under the other side of the fireplace. And I'm like, all right, let me go get this busser. I know they're messing with me. I'm about to shock the crap out of him and scare the bejesus out of him. So I go and wait by the door, and nobody comes out. So then I go into the room, which is on the opposite side of the fireplace, and that's when I realized nobody was there. There was nothing there. There's no reason any salt shaker should ever fly out the other side unless there was a person there. So that was probably the only other experience where I was like, okay, I'm not here by myself for sure.
Yeah, it's not something that obviously we have any control over. It's not something that happened on demand, you know, but it is happening, and it's pretty much on a daily basis.
The kitchen in the summertime, it gets about 140 degrees, and there's times that your hair just stands up and you get chills and you're cold. Yeah, your hair just stands straight up. I mean, I could be soaking wet, and the hair on my arms will just be.
The former owner of the place, I suspect, were very aware about the event that was going on. They just had decided that they were just not going to talk about it. It was kind of taboo, and we decided to take a different approach. And I think it's not for us to just try to hide, those events. It's something that just happened. And I think everybody needs to be aware of it, and then people can decide, what, if they believe in it, if they don't believe it.
It was like a person that was looking at me, and I turned my head, it turned its head, and then finally when I stepped towards, like to go back down the stairs, it shot across up into the upstairs dining room, and then I shot out of here.
Obviously, when it happens to you, it's just a little more concrete evidence that gets you to believe in it.
I also had a guest come in, and there were the last two here. I was in the downstairs front dining room with him, and his wife had stepped outside for a moment, and the gentleman went to the restroom. The kitchen was gone. It was just Eric, myself, and the two people. And he come flying out the bathroom. Where's she at? Because, I'd let him read the book. I'd told him the stories. And I said, sir, what are you talking about? He said, my wife, where's she at? She's playing jokes on me. I'm like, no, sir, what are you speaking of? Your wife is outside and I've been in the server station. He said, I was in there using the bathroom and I shut and locked the door, and the door flew open on me while I was using the bathroom. I said, well, sir, I don't know what to tell you, but your wife has not, entered the building again, and I'm the only one in here, and I promise you I did not do that.
They have a logic, and they have a pattern, and they have a purpose. And it's just weird.
So I was working at the downstairs bar, setting it up, and I saw a pair of earrings sitting on the bar, and I thought they were just somebody's employee's earrings. And then I walked to the hostess stand, and I saw the same pair of earrings sitting on the corner of the hostess stand. So I went back to the bar to see if maybe someone had, and I didn't see anyone that was there that could have moved them. So I went back to the bar and they were gone. So they had been moved to the hostess stand. And I didn't think much of it. I was like, okay, maybe someone must have moved them. And so then I was listening to the ghost tour one night, and I heard him say that there was an earring, a spirit that likes earrings, and had took one from a guest at one point. And I was like, wow, that makes sense. Maybe this was the earring spirit. So I was telling that to a guest one night at this table right here, and so then the husband said maybe we should check our earrings before we leave, and me and the wife both checked our earrings at that time, and I was missing one of my diamonds.
But so it kind of slowed down for, I would say, for about a year or so, and there was just not much going on. And then, but it happened to other people, customers. Every customer's got his own story.
But the ghostly experiences aren't just limited to the owners and staff of the Brentwood. Many patrons have taken in their share of spiritual encounters.
I was sitting, my husband and son and I were sitting up at the bar, and I was the second chair from the end, and I was sitting there and I had these earrings on, which are rather large earrings, and all of a sudden I felt my earring fall, and so I went to grab it, and I couldn't, it just fell away. So we all got up and we looked around all the tables, all the chairs, we pulled up the rug, we looked all over. Could not find this earring anywhere, and it's a really big earring. And so Eric said, well, maybe the cleaning people will find it. And I waited and nothing ever happened. And finally I thought, okay, I'm gonna have a chocolate, because I think it's the little boy, because he's been doing things around here with napkins with my husband and different things. So I said, if you're taking these for your mom, I don't mind, but my son gave it to me and I really would like it back, and I said, if you give it back to me, I will buy some sparkly earrings for your mom so you can take them. I think he takes them up to the attic because there's been worms that have gone up there. Anyway, and I said, if you give it back to me, I will get some earrings for your mom. And so Eric emailed me a couple of weeks after that and said, Betty came upstairs and there was this your earring just laying on the floor, just right there. And I said, oh, great. So I came in and I got my earring, and I'm always checking my ears now because this seems to be the left side that this child likes. So then I bought earrings and I put them on the mantle over there, and I hid them way toward the back so nobody would take them. And I checked every time I'd come here, and They were still there, and then finally one time one was gone, and then the next time the other one was gone. So I think the little boy took them for his mom, them, and I've never had any trouble with earrings anymore. But I think other people have lost them, but I've got mine back. And these earrings are so big, there's just no way you cannot see them on the floor. I just felt it go, and we literally took this rug up, we looked under chairs, we looked everywhere. But when Eric found it, it was after he came up the stairs, and it was right over there, and it was right on the floor, right there on the floor. And like I said, these earrings are too big to miss.
Okay, several years ago, it's probably 5 years ago, we were at a wine club, and I was sitting at the end of the table, pretty much just like this, napkin on my lap, and all of a sudden I noticed it was gone. Looked underneath, no, it wasn't on my lap anymore, I thought it just slid off my lap. Looked on the floor, all around, not there. So I asked for another napkin, and they brought me one. It also disappeared, totally gone. So I gave up on the napkins.
His voice has been heard, his silhouette has been visualized, his face seen as plain as day. What I needed was unmistakable proof, unmistakable video evidence that this spirit was, in fact, real. Over the years, I escorted dozens of paranormal investigators through the mysterious Brentwood. They all shared with me the magic that lives within.
Every time I go to the Brentwood, I have a different experience. The dumbwaiter moves up and down with the light coming on. There's a shadow figure at the bottom of the stairs that moves up and down the stairs or around the bottom. The kitchen, you walk into the kitchen, the glassware or cups will fall off the shelf in the kitchen and hit the floor and roll around. And the EVP voice recorder of the owner's name being said on the recorder. Like I said, every time I go there, it's a different experience, and I love it.
You can only call it coincidence so many times. 9 years later, I assembled a team of veteran investigators who assisted me over the years during the Brentwood research and endless nights for a follow-up investigation that would prove to deliver exactly what we ordered. Christina Parker, Kevin McCrae, and Eddie Hughes joined me in 2017 on a new journey inside the Brentwood Wine Bistro in hopes of hearing more of the building's whispering secrets. Hey guys, this is Stephen from MonsterVisionTV, and tonight, 9 years later, I have returned to the Brentwood Wine Bistro. The Brentwood Wine Bistro has become a household name as far as paranormal occurrences.
It's good to be back to the Brentwood Wine and Bistro here in Little River, South Carolina. This place has a lot of memories for me. I remember the first time that I was here with Stephen and the pit crew was in 2009. And this place was extremely active. It was in the winter time. I remember it was actually snowing outside, which was rare for South Carolina, the coast.
We experienced many different things, from a dumbwaiter going up and down by itself to the tune of someone singing, to corks being placed and then disappearing, to glasses flying off racks.
We heard loud noises, crashes in the kitchen area. There were wine corks all over the floor. There were doors that would open up with no explanation. So it offered quite a bit of activity.
So we're here tonight. We've got Kevin McCrae, Christina Parker, Eddie Hughes, and of course myself, all alumni of the Brentwood investigations, and we're going to see what this place can give us 9 years later. So stick around. The evening started off with a literal bang in the kitchen as Christina and Eddie began to investigate.
Oh my God! Did you just see that? Holy Hey! Well, hello. How are you tonight? Holy cow, I think my heart just skipped like 50 beats.
Have you been waiting on us?
So this is what just happened. That's a cup that, I'm not even really sure where it came from, but Eddie was over there, and I was over here, and it just fell between us.
As if their footage wasn't captivating and startling enough, the surveillance in the house offered up a more haunting perspective. You can clearly see the cup was stable, yet an invisible force proved to be the culprit. This startling event acted as a prelude of the paranormal activity to come. Hey guys, this is Stephen, and we just started the investigation less than 20 minutes ago, and we've already got activity in the kitchen and what we believe upstairs. What was to happen next nearly solidified the belief that the ghost of the Brentwood was self-aware. A strange case of deja vu would cause us to relive extraordinary moments that happened in 2011.
Oh, there it comes!
What? You scared the shit. It's going by itself, the dumbwaiter.
My battery's dead. Get up here. Cool.
That's the noise I heard.
Make it go back up for me.
You mean there's nobody upstairs?
Eddie's in the bathroom.
Tina scared the fire out of me, man.
Like that's ever happened before.
Could you make that go back up for me, if you don't mind?
Did Eric ever say that thing goes by itself?
No.
Chef Eric assured us that the activity with the dumbwaiter had been non-existent since the 2011 physical phenomenon. Yet here we were again, and the dumbwaiter was operating without a visible driver at the wheel. This convinced me our presence was recognized.
That was the noise, Eddie, that was the noise I heard.
Good.
Yeah.
We placed cameras inside and all around the dumbwaiter. This documented the strange activity as it occurred.
When we walked in the door just now, the dumbwaiter was actually going back up. It hadn't been down as far as we knew. So I'm setting up this still camera on that, and I put a flashlight over there because when we leave, there's not going to be much of a light source.
Repeatedly, the lift would react to our prompting, over and over and over again.
Never had.
There we go. Thank you very much.
Did you get it?
Yep, I got it. I got it. There we go. Thank you.
How about that?
Yep, there it comes.
There it comes.
All right.
All right. I'm up here. You hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
So can you make the dumbwaiter come back down again?
There's not a switch up here.
Not you.
Oh.
Now, this is the switch, correct?
I don't know.
Yep. Okay, so that's the switch, and nobody's been pushing it. Clearly.
Yeah, it.
There it goes. There it goes. As soon as I walk through the door. Thank you. Did you get that on camera?
Yeah.
You didn't? I did.
Yeah.
Oh, we've only just begun.
Yeah, that's not creepy.
And now the dumbwaiter is going up and down again like it did years ago. What do you mean? And now Christina's telling me her camera is fried, and also there was a glass thrown in the kitchen right when we started, and we're only an hour into this, so hang tight. Like history repeating itself, music seemed to be the trigger. The house was definitely spirited. Following the carousel of repeated spiritual control of the dumbwaiter, our focus was shifted to a loud and surprising sound coming from within the house.
I swear that noise was upstairs.
I think so too.
Further investigation would reveal that the bar mats located in the second floor bar area were the cause.
Just for the record, this is probably what we heard earlier. Not really sure if that was already in the floor or not. Let's see how loud it is. Yep, that would do it.
Hey, you guys remember the noise that we heard while Eric was talking?
Yeah.
Go back in that room and I'm going to drop something that's on the floor up here and tell me if that's what it sounds like.
Copy that. Give us a second. Alright, we're in place.
Kinda.
That's a little louder, but the same timbre.
That's exactly what it was.
Once again, the surveillance of the Brentwood answered the question of its origin. Heavy in weight, the bar mats were strung across the sink to dry, with their weight favoring the support of the sink. The surveillance revealed a slow and patient movement. Eventually, they crashed to the floor below. Without physical interference, there was no possible way these mats could seemingly slide against their own weight on a level sink. Yet, they did. As the night continued, nearly every investigator experienced the bistro's silverware being thrown across the restaurant. It was evident that something was going out of its way to garner our attention. Some of the silverware was found, while some of it was not.
What the? But that was like silverware or something being thrown.
Yeah, you guys take the kitchen, I'll take the pot.
That was like right here.
Was that you guys?
Yep. It wasn't us.
Was that not like right here?
Yeah.
Dude, there's nothing there. There is nothing there.
On the first floor, one of the bathroom doors kept inviting us in. This was the same bathroom with the infamous picture that over the years induced its own bizarre activity. On numerous occasions, the door would open as we were approaching or leaving the general area.
The damn bathroom door.
Listen.
Bathroom, is there one of those fresheners that the toilet seat? That's the door.
This prompted me to spend some time inside the bathroom in hopes of capturing what was happening on film. And I did.
And I am in the downstairs men's room. We've had some issues with this room tonight. The door is wanting to open on its own even though it's latched shut. And just things have been going nuts tonight. They've really been surprising. So I'm going to sit in here and do a communication session and see if I can get our good pal, the Ghost of Brentwood, to open this door for me while I'm sitting right here. Can you open that door for me? Be really, really cool if you could open that door. Okay. I just did a test with the door and on cue it opened, so I'm gonna see if it'll do it again. I'm gonna latch it shut. There, latched. the stuff with the door is pretty incredible because 3 of us have experienced that. We've all heard the knocking, the dumbwaiter, like clockwork, music triggers it. So that's nothing new, but it's still phenomenal as far as the Brentwood's concerned, or the paranormal. What was that?
Our walk into the darkness was certainly dishing out everything we expected, and even some things we did not. But nothing could have prepared us for what we would later discover.
I can't say what else we're gonna find because we still gotta review audio recorders and all of the video that we shot this weekend. So this is kind of my final thought on location.
The research had concluded, but further examination of our footage would reveal a video capture that dropped my jaw upon discovering it. You have to ask yourself how often something may be watching you. This next and final entry into the evidence gathered during our research is a prime example of being in the right place at the right time. Christina and Eddie were conducting a communication session at the second floor bar. The ironic and nearly comical part about their session is the fact that somebody or something was actually there listening. The 2 investigators were asking to speak with many of the known entities inside the building. Little did they know, the man himself was right in the room with them. Eddie was acknowledging anomalous sounds, and Christina was so curious she even began to get up to investigate further. Yet they dismissed what they were hearing as me and Kevin on the first floor. Christina had placed her camera on the bar aimed towards the bathroom and back wall in which many people, including myself, had seen the 6-foot anomaly. Her camera was also facing the area where the building's electrical box was located, as seen here on the wall. In the world of paranormal research, spirits need a form of energy to pull from to manifest, move objects, and communicate. This area certainly had enough power to feed on. This is most likely why the shadow is often reported in this area.
So is there anybody up here that wants to say hello? Make their presence known to us?
You know what? I really would love to see the tall guy tonight.
Yeah, is the tall guy here? That's them. So is there anybody up here that wants to say hello? Make their presence known to us?
You know what? I really would love to see the tall guy tonight.
Yeah, is the tall guy here? That's them. Do you hear a whirling noise? Like,
No, it sounds like somebody's on the staircase.
that was them.
Upon reviewing their footage, I couldn't help but notice subtle movement in the background as the investigators were acknowledging the sounds. At first glance, the untrained eye would probably notice nothing. However, I lightened the video footage and was more than awestruck to discover the most vivid image of an apparition I have ever seen. He was right there, lurking in the dark. In the lightened video, you can vividly see the man was wearing a slicker, or pea coat, originally worn by sailors or fishermen. Another piece of the Brentwood puzzle fit perfectly into place. My years of involvement in the paranormal field spans 2 decades, and what Christina inadvertently captured with her camera has become one of the best pieces of evidence in favor of an afterlife I have ever seen. I have seen him with my own 2 eyes. Many investigators, patrons of the bistro, and the Brentwood staff has seen him with their own 2 eyes. Now we had the man in the darkness, the man in the shadows, a full-bodied apparition on film. We now know what lies within the shadows inside the Brentwood Wine Bistro. The consensus on the occurrences happening inside the Brentwood all point to the historic home holding multiple spirits. Essie and Clarence, an elusive little boy, and an intimidating man believed to have been a local fisherman who frequented the old bed and breakfast. Of course, I can only report on what we have witnessed and documented. From the shadow at the bottom of the stairs to the face in the mirror to finally seeing this man lurking in the darkness, the Brentwood Wine Bistro has given the world irrefutable proof that the afterlife exists. I consider this location a magnet or spiritual conductor. The old home is the resting place for many souls. It is a scattered puzzle with enough pieces assembled to see what is, but not enough pieces to see what was. It is all speculation as to their identities, but it is all truth as to their existence. We know Essie is there, and maybe the cryptical shadow entity is Clarence. It is awe-inspiring what you view as sane when you have lived with it evermore. That quote could not be more true in the case of the Brentwood. Chef Eric and Kim Masson are the heart of the Brentwood Wine Bistro, but the spirits are its soul. 9 years ago, I said the Brentwood was the most haunted location I had ever been in. Today, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it was and still is. And now we know something is watching us as much as we are watching it. It's a great place, and it's an honor for all of us to be a part of such a haunted location, and to have an opportunity to create something and produce something for those of you out there who maybe have never heard of the Brentwood yet.
This place never disappoints. It's been a wonderful weekend, a good team effort by everybody in the pit crew.
Friday night started out crazy from the minute we walked in the door. The kitchen, a glass thrown between me and Eddie. I've heard disembodied voices having a conversation in a room where I was the only one that was there, but there were two males talking. I've had things thrown other than the cup. We've had some silverware thrown. I was very alarmed when the bathroom door opened while I was actually using the bathroom.
I got to tell you, the first night we were here Friday night was very active. The spirits of the Brentwood have proven to be here once again. From the dumbwaiter going up and down on command to bathroom door opening on command.
This place is awesome, full of paranormal activity.
I was just as excited this weekend as I was the first time that I came to the Brentwood, and I really look forward to coming back. It's just an awesome, awesome, awesome venue.
This place is worth driving to see. If you've never been here, I think you should come. Do the ghost tour, watch our videos, watch for updates. The Brentwood is a place full of history and a place of the macabre. So thank you for joining us.
I think it's somebody that just wants to stick around, you know?
See, everybody's heard of getting out of work saying you're sick. I got haunted last night, man. I'm not coming into work today.
I felt the covers being pulled up over my shoulder, and I wondered, why would Betty get up and do that? And I looked over and she was still sound asleep in her bed.
Yeah, see, as of this morning, see, she blames me for taking all the covers. I'm with him. There's something that's pulling
Thanks for giving him an excuse.
over on.
Seems like I find it very surprising that at this day and age that we still can't explain those things when we send people, you know, in space and we go on the bottom of the ocean, and we still just don't kind of grasp that this other dimension, and you know, and that we don't really have an understanding about what is it that's happening, you know, at the Brentwood or in other locations.
Did you ever find it?
I didn't, but Mike Neff, the storyteller, he told me to leave a pair of earrings on the bar and that maybe she would return my earring. But it was a diamond. It was my most expensive diamond, so yeah.
Ouch.
Of course. But yeah, it hasn't turned up, and I did leave a pair of earrings on the bar and they are now gone. I left a cheap pair of earrings on the bar and they're gone.
Yeah, we're actually going to do that tonight. We're going to test that tonight. Well, thank you.
Well, maybe if you do find my diamond, please.
Yeah, we'll tell you. We'll let you know. We'll let you know if we find a diamond. Right, Eddie?
Yeah. You know, so if you come into the Brentwood, say hi.
What happened is
because it was Christmas and we were bored. And we were waiting for our friend to pick us up from the movie, and he's a little boy, and we were expecting him and his mother to come in the front door and then talk to my mom, who's at the hostess stand. So we were looking at the cameras, because there was one point at the hostess stand, so I was looking at the cameras, and you know, time passed, and then we looked, and then we saw a little boy there, and he was like right next to the hostess stand, and he was just kind of sitting there. And what was odd is that no one was acknowledging him. I thought I would have been called. And his mother wasn't there either, so we were like, okay, you know, something must be like walking around waiting for us. So I go downstairs to ask my mom where he is, or like who's the little boy there? Because what if it's not? What if it's just a kid? And she's like, well, there's no kid here. I'm like, there's a kid here. I literally saw him on the camera. Like, it wasn't obvious, it wasn't blurry or anything. It was like straight up, you could see a little kid right by the hostess stand. And so I asked the other person there, I was like, so who's the little boy here? And there was no little boy. And I'm like, well, I mean, there must have been someone. There was someone on the cameras.
I'm excited about getting to do it. I've been anxiously awaiting Monster Vision and Stephen showing up and getting a chance to hang out with them in the darkness in here and see what would come up. Every night I walk out of this place, I hope and pray that I'm going to bump into something. And it hasn't happened yet, but got to hang out with them tonight and see some different stuff going on. You know there's stuff in here, and I'm anxious for them to come back and do this again. I will be more than happy to hang out anytime. We got to see some electromagnetic stuff going on. We absolutely heard some strange sounds. We've had some weird battery activity going on, so there's stuff around for sure. Come on out and hang out at the Brentwood. Go on a ghost tour with me, and keep your eyes open on Monster Vision to see what Stephen and the gang cook up here.
Son of a gun. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I put my camera on it to see what we would see.